Chapter 1. What are we dealing with? Eugene Ionesco wrote, "It is not the answer that enlightens, but the question." Most users regard internet porn as a solution to boredom, sexual frustration, loneliness, or stress. However, about 10 years ago, some porn users started to connect various problems with their porn use. In 2012, a guy on an online forum known as NoFap on reddit.com, the onomatopoeic term fap is slang for masturbation to porn, recounted the history of how men first figured out what they were dealing with. Around 2008 and 2009, people started surfacing on the internet who were freaked out that they had erectile dysfunction, but at the same time they could get a solid erection to varying degrees of extreme porn with the help of some good old death grip, masturbation. The weird thing was that in some cases, thousands of people responded to these forum posts, saying that they had the exact same symptoms. Now, taking those symptoms into account, people figured they'd desensitize themselves to real women by escalating to ever more extreme genres of porn and masturbating such that no woman's vagina could match the stimulation. They hoped and guessed that if they'd stop watching porn and masturbating for a significant amount of time, this desensitization might be reversed. These people, who back then didn't have YBOP, yourbrainonporn.com, NoFap, or dozens of other forums on the subject, thought they were alone. The only weird-ass freaks on the planet who couldn't get it up to a real woman, but find disgusting genres of porn a turn-on. A lot of them were still virgins. Others were failing for years with real women, which devastated their confidence. They figured that they would never be able to have a normal, fulfilling relationship with a woman, and considering they were freaks of nature, they secluded themselves from society and became hermits. Quitting porn helped reverse the porn-induced ED of these guys, and besides normal libido, they started reporting other positive changes too. Depression and social anxiety going away, increased confidence, the feeling of fulfillment and being on top of the world. I'm one of those guys. I'd had several failures with women, starting in the middle of puberty. This had become the single most devastating thing to my psyche. In this modern world, where there's hardly a commercial, a movie, a TV show, or a conversation without sexual innuendos, I was constantly reminded of my weirdness. I was a failure as a man on a very fundamental level, and I seemed to be the only one. A year before I quit porn, I'd even gone to see psychiatrists and psychologists who diagnosed me with severe social anxiety disorder and depression, and wanted to put me on antidepressants, which I never agreed to. When I found out that the central problem of my life that was on my mind 24/7 could be reversed, the heaviest rock was lifted from my heart. When I went on my first NoFap streak, about 80 days, I started noticing similar superpowers as reported by others. Is that really so weird? The central thing destroying my confidence and making me feel alone on the planet of 7 billion was being reversed, and it turned out to be very common. Today, on my 109th day of the streak, I feel happy, confident, social, smart, capable of meeting any challenge, etc., etc. The earliest people to report porn-related problems in online forums were typically computer programmers and information technology specialists. They had acquired high-speed internet porn ahead of the pack, and then developed uncharacteristic sexual tastes, delayed ejaculation, or erectile dysfunction, ED, during sex. Eventually, some experienced ED even while using porn. Nearly all were in their late 20s or older. As one such forum member noted, internet porn was different, oddly irresistible. With the magazines, porn use was a few times a week and I could basically regulate it because it wasn't really that special. But when I entered the murky world of internet porn, my brain had found something it just wanted more and more of. I was out of control in less than 6 months. Years of mags? No problem. A few months of online porn? Hooked. A bit of history gives us some clues as to why today's pornography might have unexpected effects on the brain. Visual pornography entered the mainstream with magazines, but users had to content themselves with static erotica. Each installment's novelty and its arousal potential faded fairly quickly, and a person either had to go back to fantasizing about his hot neighbor, or make a substantial and perhaps awkward or costly foray to obtain more material. There were a few X-rated movies, and some of them were big commercial successes. Dedicated fans of hardcore could also find sexually explicit clips in adult bookstores. But supply was still restricted to a handful of public or semi-public venues, and most people didn't want to spend much time in movie houses or peep show booths. Then came video rentals and late-night cable channels. These media were more stimulating than static porn and much less awkward to access than a film at the cinema. Yet how many times could a person watch the same video before it was time for another trip to the video shop, and thus a break? Viewers often had to watch a storyline with an erotic build-up before getting to the hot stuff. Most minors still had very limited access. Next, porn viewers turned to dial-up. Private, cheaper, but mostly stills, at first. People could access it more easily, but it was slow. Material could not be consumed at a click. As one user remembers, you had to download the video, then open it and risk getting a virus. Sometimes you didn't have the right software, so you spent a lot of time making sure it was what you wanted to see before downloading it and enjoying it. Or you would go to a specific site whose content you liked, watch the 1 or 2 new videos, and leave it at that. But all that was about to change. In 2006, high-speed internet gave rise to a whole new creature. Galleries of short porn clips of the hottest few minutes of an unending supply of streaming hardcore videos. They are called tube sites because they stream like YouTube videos. The world of porn has never been the same. The following users describe the transformation. I'd looked at pictures for years, well over a decade, and video clips from time to time. But when the tube sites became my daily fare, it was only shortly afterward that I developed ED problems. I think the tube sites, with their endless clips immediately accessible, threw my brain into overload. On a tube site, you go straight from 0 to 140 kilometers per hour. Arousal isn't a slow, relaxed, teasing buildup of expectation. It is straight to full-on orgasmic action. Because tube clips are so short, you do a lot more clicking to novel clips for various reasons. One is way too short to build up arousal, you don't know what will be in the clip till you watch it, endless curiosity, etc. I can totally relate to wanting to watch 10 videos all at once, streaming all at the same time. It's amazing to hear someone else say it. It's like this sensory overload or hoarding or just overstuffing yourself with your favorite junk food. Tube sites, especially the big ones, are the crack cocaine of internet pornography. There is so much of it and so much new content every day, every hour, every 10 minutes that I was always able to find constant new stimulation. Now with high-speed access, even on smartphones, it has made me continuously watch more and more at a higher resolution. It sometimes becomes a whole day affair looking for the perfect one to finish on. It never, ever satisfies. Need more, the brain always says. Such a lie. Before I discovered I had ED, I had escalated to tube site compilation videos, each consisting of the hottest few seconds of dozens of hardcore videos. High-speed porn changed everything. I began masturbating more than once a day. If I didn't feel like masturbating, but wanted to relieve stress or go to sleep, porn helped me get aroused. I found myself looking at porn prior to sex with my wife because she just couldn't do it for me anymore. Delayed ejaculation was a huge problem. I could no longer orgasm from oral sex, and I sometimes had difficulty with orgasm in a vagina. Deep in a primitive part of the brain, surfing tube sites registers as really valuable because of all the sexual novelty. The extra excitement strengthens brain circuits that urge you to seek porn again and again. Your own sexual fantasies pale in comparison. Interestingly, research confirms that users' problems correlate most closely with factors such as the number of screens opened, variety, and degree of arousal, that is, indications of addiction, and not simply with time spent viewing online porn. Another risk of today's online porn buffet is overconsumption. University of Massachusetts Medical School professor Sherry Pagotto, PhD, writes, "Studies on appetite show that variety is strongly associated with overconsumption. You will eat more at a buffet than you will when meatloaf is the only thing on the table. In neither scenario will you leave hungry, but in one, you will leave regretful." In other words, if you want to circumvent overconsumption and its problems, avoid the buffets of life. It's also worth noting that videos replace imagination in a way that still images don't. Left strictly to our imaginations, we humans once tended to assume the starring role in our sexual fantasies, not the passive role of mere voyeur, as in video watching. However, some of those who start regular porn use very young are having a different experience. Alien is the word I'd use to describe how it felt when I tried to have sex with real women. It felt artificial and foreign to me. It's like I've gotten so conditioned to sitting in front of a screen jerking it that my mind considers that to be normal sex instead of real, actual sex. During real sex, viewers generally aren't in the position of a voyeur, let alone a voyeur of a particular body part or very specific fetish that many of them have been viewing for years before they connect with a partner. An elephant in the room. At the end of 2010, my wife suggested I set up an online resource about this new phenomenon. By then, her forum on sexual relationships had been overrun by men seeking clues about their porn-related problems: loss of attraction to real partners, delayed ejaculation, or complete inability to orgasm during sex, alarming new sexual tastes as they escalated through porn fetishes, even unaccustomed premature ejaculation. She felt they needed a dedicated website where they could read each other's self-reports and keep up on the new research on internet addiction, sexual conditioning, and neuroplasticity. From this came the website yourbrainonporn.com, or YBOP. Curious as to who was linking to the new resource, I began tracking my visitors. I was astonished. Links to the new site popped up in threads all over the web, often in other languages. Men worldwide were looking for answers. At present, YBOP gets as many as 20,000 unique visitors a day. Forums for people quitting porn are popping up and growing rapidly. The largest and oldest English-language forum is Reddit NoFap from 2011, which is more than 250,000 members strong at present. Reddit Porn Free boasts over 30,000. There are well over 100,000 Fapstronauts gathered at nofap.com. RebootNation.org has about 11,000. And Your Brain Rebalanced nearly 20,000. The same phenomenon is occurring internationally. For example, in China, 3 such forums combined currently have 3.5 million members struggling to recover from internet porn's effects. Wherever men congregated, one could find them debating porn's impact. Threads, sometimes thousands of posts long, appeared on websites for bodybuilders, pickup artists, university alumni, those seeking medical advice, car enthusiasts, sports fans, recreational drug users, even guitarists. Most guys could not believe porn was the culprit behind their symptoms until months after they quit. As one recovering user wrote, "After years of porn, I was having trouble with erections. It had been getting worse and worse for a couple years. Needed more and more types of porn stimulation. I was really worried, but the anxiety just pushed me deeper into more extreme porn. Now, the more I go without porn, masturbation, fantasy, and orgasm, the more difficult it becomes to not get an erection. No ED problems or weak ejaculations like I had just a few months ago. I have healed." Even after quitting and seeing improvements, many were still skeptical. They returned to internet porn, only to see their problems gradually or swiftly recur. And even though anonymous online forums were buzzing, at first no one wanted to talk about it publicly. One wrote, "Young guys won't go to doctors talking about ED. Porn-induced ED and porn addiction are our personal secret. We're too anxious, ashamed, confused, and angry to create awareness of these issues. We hide in the shadows because we individually don't want to be seen to exist. Therefore, we collectively aren't thought to exist." For some, quitting triggered distressing, unexpected withdrawal symptoms, as these users recount. "Here's what I'm dealing with. Irritability, fatigue, inability to sleep, even sleep aids don't help much, trembling, shaking, lack of focus, shortness of breath, and depression. I've battled a few addictions in my life, from nicotine to alcohol and other substances. I've overcome all of them, and this was by far the most difficult. Urges, crazy thoughts, sleeplessness, feelings of hopelessness, despair, worthlessness, and many more negative things were all part of what I went through with this porn thing. It's a wicked, awful thing that I will never have to deal with ever again in my life. Ever." If you don't realize such symptoms are connected with quitting and recovery, but you do notice that returning to porn relieves them, then you are strongly motivated to keep using porn. I'll come back to the withdrawal symptom hurdle in the recovery chapter. Most alarmingly of all, those with erectile dysfunction who quit porn often reported temporary, but absolute, loss of libido and abnormally lifeless genitals. Even men with no ED sometimes experienced temporary loss of libido and mild sexual dysfunctions soon after they quit. I have absolutely no sex drive, no spontaneous erections. It's a very strange feeling when you look at a beautiful woman, and in your head you have normal thoughts like, Wow, she's beautiful. I would like to get to know her. And yet you have no sexual thoughts or intentions. It's a very strange and for me, quite a scary experience. It's like you've been castrated. Unless guys had been warned about this flatline, fears of permanent impotence sent them rushing back to cyberspace to attempt to salvage their manhood. Escalating to more extreme porn, even with a partially flaccid penis, seemed a small price to pay to stem the total loss of libido. Porn use seemed like a cure. Many, however, were horrified to discover that they couldn't override the flatline by returning to porn. They had to wait until their libido returned naturally, which sometimes took months. Interestingly, male rats who copulate to sexual exhaustion also show evidence of a mini flatline before their libido returns. Is the porn-induced flatline biologically related? Researchers study rats because their primitive brain structures are surprisingly similar to ours. As developmental molecular biologist John J. Medina, PhD, says, animal research acts as a guiding flashlight for human research, illuminating biological processes. In other words, researchers aren't studying rats to help them with their addictions, erections, and mood disorders. Happily, once warned about the possibility of a temporary flatline, most guys powered through it with relative equanimity. One flatliner wrote, "About my flatline. When people say they feel like their cock is dead, they aren't exaggerating. It literally feels lifeless. It feels like a burden to have to carry it around." As tube sites became more popular and more widely accessed, a flood of younger guys in their early 20s and late teens arrived with the same sexual dysfunctions as the older visitors. Rapidly, they comprised the majority of visitors to the websites, where men were complaining of what they understood to be porn-induced sexual dysfunctions. The other porn experiment. By 2011, guys in their early 20s began to set up online forums dedicated entirely to experimenting with giving up internet porn in hopes of reversing porn-related problems. Often they found that it helped to cut out masturbation temporarily as well. Indeed, many were unable to masturbate without porn, at least early in the process. Their goal was to give their brains a rest from chronic overstimulation via internet erotica. They called their approach rebooting. The best-known English-language forum is Reddit NoFap. Other popular English-language forums include Reboot Nation, Reddit Porn Free, Your Brain Rebalanced, and nofap.com. Women are welcome in all of them, and their numbers are growing. Some even founded a Reddit NoFap Women. I've been monitoring some of these forums since their inception because members frequently link to YBOP. This grassroots movement remained largely beneath the radar of the mainstream press, at least until Time magazine ran the 2016 cover story, Porn and the Threat to Virility. Thousands of people worldwide have now undertaken the groundbreaking experiment of giving up artificial online sexual stimulation, internet porn, webcam encounters, erotic literature, surfing escort ads, etc. Many have shared their results over a period of months. This vast experiment has been conducted without controls or double-blind protocols. Such trials would be impossible because researchers would have to ask some participants to stop masturbating to porn, which is the sort of thing people, whether they're researchers or subjects, notice. It is the only large-scale experiment I know of that removes the variable of porn use and compares histories with subsequent outcomes. Obviously, subjects are not randomly chosen. They are people who want to experiment with giving up porn. Also, the vast majority are digital natives, not a cross-section of the general population. Moreover, although membership on these porn challenge forums has mushroomed since the first one started in 2011, they don't reveal the precise percentages of people with porn-related problems in any age group. Skeptics sometimes claim that people who experiment with quitting must be motivated by religious reasons. Yet all of the forums named above are secular. The largest of these new forums, and likely the youngest in terms of average age, conducted a self-poll a couple of years ago. Only 7% had joined for religious reasons. The information these online forums and threads generate is anecdotal, but it would be a mistake to dismiss it without further investigation. For one thing, the people quitting porn and seeing benefits are surprisingly diverse. They come from different backgrounds, cultures, and degrees of religiosity. Some are on psychotropic medications, some are in relationships, some smoke and use recreational drugs, some are bodybuilders. Their ages cover a wide range, and so forth. Eliminating porn use in studies. One reason this massive informal experiment has value is because its subjects generally remove the variable of internet porn use. Only a handful of formal studies and case reports have asked participants to do this, and all report significant differences. Most formal porn studies are correlational. They may tell us interesting things about what effects are associated with porn use, but cannot demonstrate which related factor causes another, or whether an effect is bidirectional. That is, whether the same factor, for example depression, may result from a behavior in some and promote it in others. In the case of internet porn's effects, it is critically important to establish causation. Why does it matter? It matters because a porn user whose symptoms are the result of porn use cannot heal except by giving it up. Psychologists and psychiatrists are typically trained to assume that certain symptoms indicate underlying pathologies, and that problematic overuse of a substance or behavior is therefore a result of these disorders. Few healthcare providers are advised to consider that internet overuse can exacerbate those symptoms, or even cause reversible symptoms, which merely resemble those of underlying disorders, such as social anxiety, depression, apathy, severe concentration problems, or performance anxiety. They risk incorrectly diagnosing patients as having underlying mental disorders and prescribing medications for them that, at best, temporarily mask their symptoms. As medications often have side effects, much misery could be avoided by pinpointing porn use as the cause in those who simply need to abandon its use to resolve their symptoms. It also matters because only when causation is correctly understood can parents and policymakers make sound decisions about who gains access to internet porn and at what age. This is difficult because academic research is painstakingly slow and narrow, and even slower to self-correct when it goes off course. In contrast, the phenomenon of today's pornography is evolving at lightning speed and may be contributing to a broad range of effects. In the last decade, the technology of porn's delivery has changed so rapidly in ways that increase its risk to users, such as streaming pornography, smartphone access for youngsters, and now virtual reality pornography, that by the time a study is released, its findings are rapidly becoming obsolete. Even well-designed research dates swiftly, yet academics have little choice but to lean on outdated assumptions in subsequent research. Policymakers do the same thing. To the extent that research lags behind reality, it can fuel poor decisions. For all these reasons, research that distinguishes which way causation runs is vitally needed. The most practical way researchers can reveal the true effects of porn on users is to design research in which study subjects give up porn use for an extended period and researchers measure any changes. It can take months or even a couple of years for young men to experience the full benefits of giving up porn use, but most see some benefits long before then. Those who do not may indeed have underlying disorders. What does research that removes porn use find? In view of the importance of doing research that establishes the effects of porn by removing it, it is regrettable that only 6 studies in academic journals have called for porn use to be eliminated to assess its effects. All reported significant changes. In 2015, researchers correlated porn use with decreased ability to delay gratification when they assessed porn users before and after a 30-day period. They divided participants into 2 groups. Half were to abstain from their favorite food, half were to abstain from porn. The porn abstainers scored better on their ability to delay gratification. The researchers said, the finding suggests that internet pornography is a sexual reward that contributes to delay discounting differently than other natural rewards. It is therefore important to treat pornography as a unique stimulus in reward, impulsivity, and addiction studies, and to apply this accordingly in individuals as well as relational treatment. A 2012 study found that when participants tried to abstain from porn use for 3 weeks, they reported higher levels of relationship commitment. These 2 studies demonstrate that even in those who are not addicted, who only endeavor to abstain, and who do so for a mere 3 weeks, changes are significant. In an Israeli case study, a man suffering from unwanted fetishes, anorgasmia, and abnormally low desire for partnered sex sought treatment. The sexual intervention called for a 6-week abstinence from porn and masturbation. After 8 months, the man reported increased sexual desire, successful sex and orgasm, and enjoying good sexual practices. A 2016 review of the literature related to porn-induced sexual problems, co-authored by U.S. Navy doctors, included 3 clinical reports of men who developed porn-induced sexual dysfunctions. 2 of the 3 men healed their sexual dysfunctions by eliminating porn use. The 3rd man was unable to eliminate his porn use. In 2016, a French psychiatrist reported his clinical experience with 35 men who developed erectile dysfunction and/or anorgasmia related to their habitual porn use. His therapeutic approach involved the men unlearning masturbatory habits associated with their porn use. Sexual dysfunctions regressed in 19 patients of the 35 patients, and these men were able to enjoy satisfactory sexual activity. 3 patients were continuing to progress, while 13 had given up. There is also a UK paper that described a young, male, composite subject who recovered from delayed ejaculation after quitting porn. Finally, in 2016, a European researcher reported preliminary results from a pioneering investigation of the effects of a period of porn and masturbation abstinence by no-faps fapstronauts. Results suggest that abstaining increases the ability to delay rewards, renders people more willing to take risks, renders people more altruistic, and renders people more extroverted, more conscientious, and less neurotic. Taken together with the thousands of recovery self-reports in online forums, these studies demonstrate the importance of designing research that isolates the variable of internet porn use in order to demonstrate real-life effects on users. Research difficulties and consequences. Researchers have been slow to inform the public that some populations are more at risk with respect to porn problems, such as adolescents, male digital natives, and single porn users. Too often, scientists report addiction and sexual dysfunction statistics for a country's entire population. Or, if they investigate specific age groups, they include females in reported rates. For example, a rare 2017 addiction rate study reported that in a college population, 10.3% of subjects fell within the clinical range for cybersex addiction. You have to read the fine print, however, to learn that almost 1 in 5, 19%, of college-age men were addicted, while less than 1 in 20, 4% of the women were addicted. Certainly it is appropriate to investigate the effects on all users, but group reporting veils the extent of porn-related problems in the male digital natives who are most at risk. Researchers investigating male porn users have found rates of porn addiction hovering around 28%. Yet these studies, and the one in the previous paragraph, are virtually unknown in the mainstream press. As a consequence, people who have been using porn heavily since puberty rarely make the connection between their porn use and symptoms such as social anxiety, depression, or weak erections until after they stop using. No matter how miserable they are, porn is widely believed to be a way to feel good, a solution rather than a source of problems. In fact, despite the lack of convincing evidence, popular lore has it that frequent masturbation, which these days also implies porn use, is a surefire prostate cancer preventative. All this means that there's little point in researchers asking subjects if their porn use has caused their symptoms. Most have no idea. For example, unless they've tried partnered sex, even those with incipient porn-induced sexual dysfunctions may be unaware of them. Most virgins manage to masturbate to climax using porn, and naturally presume they would be super studs in the sack. Porn users are given little reason to suspect that porn can cause symptoms. Instead, society has put their problems in neat little boxes that do not take account of internet overuse. Today's porn users are regularly diagnosed with and prescribed treatment for social anxiety, low self-esteem, concentration problems, lack of motivation, depression, and other conditions. They can even be told that their problem is definitely performance anxiety when they are unable to achieve an erection or climax on their own without porn. Some quietly suffer with panic that their sexual orientations have mysteriously morphed, or that they must be closet perverts because they eventually can only get off to illegal or unnerving fetish porn, or that they will never be able to have sex, and thus intimacy, because of their sexual dysfunctions. Not to be alarmist, but I read far too many recovery accounts that mention earlier suicidal thoughts. Disturbingly, research at Oxford University found that moderate or severe addiction to the internet was associated with increased risk for self-harm. Here are comments by 3 guys. I have seriously considered suicide throughout my life because of these issues, but I was able to cope until I found out porn was the problem. 115 days later, I have finally broken free of its chains. It's still tough, but I know if I don't use it, I'll be able to have sex with my beautiful girlfriend the next day. Staying off porn really makes a difference. I thought it was impossible to quit porn to the point of contemplating castration and suicide. Here's one thing I actually didn't know that helped me out. People who view transsexual porn do it because of all the stimulation, and even the producers admit that they make this fetish for a straight audience. My thoughts that I might have been bi or gay were more of an optical and psychological illusion than a real sexual orientation. As a child, I was highly athletic, smart, and sociable. I was always happy and had a million friends. That all changed around age 11 when I downloaded Kazaa and progressed to nearly every type of porn imaginable. dominatrix, animal amputee, etc. I started having severe depression and anxiety. The next 15 years of my life were completely miserable. I was incredibly antisocial. I didn't talk to anybody and sat alone at lunch. I hated everyone. I quit all the sports that I played even though I was top rank in all of them. My marks plummeted to barely passable. As much as I hate to think about it now, I'd even started thinking about planning my own Columbine-style exit to this world. After people quit using porn, the benefits they report are often staggering. Indirectly, their experience suggests that some brains have been profoundly affected by today's super-stimulating high-speed porn. As we'll see, formal research is now starting to bear out their reports, even while causal direction is still debated. Correlations are turning up between porn use, or problematic porn use, and many phenomena seen regularly on the forums, such as depression, anxiety, stress, social anxiety, attention problems, loss of attraction to real people, sexual dysfunction, sexual and relationship dissatisfaction, altered sexual tastes, and consumption of increasingly extreme material. Given the weight of worldwide first-person testimony from these forums demonstrating that eliminating porn use has profound effects, the emphasis should be on further research that sheds light on the mechanics of what is actually happening. Research could also help to sort the porn-afflicted from those with other disorders, such as those stemming from childhood trauma and attachment problems. It goes without saying that not everyone's problems can be traced back to internet porn use. It also goes without saying that an attraction to transgender people, an interest in being dominated, and any number of other things can form part of a durable and happy sexual identity. The problem is in the effects of porn on the brain, not in any particular aspect of human beings' colorful diversity and matters of desire. Common symptoms. Although most early trials in giving up internet porn were desperate ploys to reverse deteriorating sexual function, today many people make this experiment in order to gain a whole range of benefits. In this section you'll find a sprinkling of self-reports describing improvements after quitting porn, broken down into categories. But many users see a wide range of diverse improvements. For example, this ex-user wrote, "Improvements since quitting. Social anxiety improved drastically, includes confidence, eye contact, comfort interacting, smoothness, etc. More energy in general. Clearer, sharper mind, more concentration, more vibrant looking face. Depression alleviated. Desire to interact with women. Boners are back." Another guy described himself during his porn use. "My friends were drifting away. I gave up socializing to sit in my room and pleasure myself. My family loved me unconditionally, but did not enjoy my company. I had trouble focusing on my job as well as my classes at my university. I had no girlfriend. I had an enormous amount of anxiety with human interactions in general. I worked out furiously but never seemed to gain anything. Everyone told me I was mentally checked out. I even caught a glimpse of me in a video and you could see a blank stare in my eyes. No one was home. Definition of a space cadet. No energy. No matter how much I slept. None. Nothing at all. Always tired. Bags under my eyes, pale, acne, and dehydrated. I was terribly depressed. I had porn-induced ED. I was stressed, anxious, confused, and lost. I was not living life, but I was not dead either. I was a zombie." People naturally wonder how such disparate symptoms could be associated with internet porn use, and what physiological changes might be behind the improvements. They also wonder why some users see different results or no results. Research on the underlying reasons for internet porn's effects is just beginning, but in the next chapter I'll hypothesize based on the abundant relevant science already available on brain plasticity and internet use. Meanwhile, let's take a closer look at people's accounts of what they're experiencing. The inability to control use and use that interferes with one's life are two cardinal signs of addiction. Priorities have shifted due to changes in the brain that we'll look at later. In effect, life's natural rewards, such as friendship, exercise, and accomplishment, can no longer compete. Your brain now believes that it, in this case internet porn use, is an important goal, and equates it with your survival. These users describe their feelings of being out of control. "Most days I would wank so much that by the end of the day when I orgasmed nothing would even come out. ED my first time sent me into a porn spiral. I would literally wake up, roll over, and masturbate. Masturbate all day, then at night, masturbate and go to sleep. 6 times a day or more, no joke. Safe to say my life was an absolute mess. All the bad effects of porn times 10. I knew that the porn and masturbation was affecting me, but I was in denial. Masturbation is good for you, right? You can't be addicted to porn. My lowest point was when I lost out on my pharmacy diploma and lost my girlfriend on the same day, due to porn and procrastination. I used transgender porn to get hard so I could finish with heterosexual porn. Without realizing, I was soon watching a lot of taboo and extreme porn that I never would have considered a couple of years ago. I couldn't believe I let myself get to this point. I just couldn't stop myself. As a woman, I can get off a ridiculous amount of times in one night, because the female biological makeup allows it. Many females, not all, spend a lot of time not with porn but with erotica. We fantasize a lot to get off, while men are very visual. With the internet, it's easy to find erotica everywhere, and there are entire forums dedicated to the type of erotica you want. At my worst, I would have 7 or 8 different sites open and go through them for about 3 or 4 hours or more, looking for the perfect sex story to get off on. I thought that it was due to an increased libido that I watched so much porn. Now I know I was wrong. I had an addiction. I barely went out and most certainly didn't have any female contacts. Before I quit, I felt like shit 24/7. I had zero energy and zero motivation. I was lethargic for every hour of every day. I didn't eat right. I didn't exercise. I didn't study. I didn't care about personal hygiene. And I could not care. In the state that I was in, it was extremely difficult to stand for more than 3 minutes, let alone do something productive. I'm over a month now and I feel so much better. Everything from my social life to my physical health has been damaged by this addiction. The worst part about it was that I constantly justified it in my head by saying it was healthy for me, and at least it isn't a drug. During the heights of my porn addiction, I never looked forward to much of anything, dreaded going to work, and never saw socializing with friends and family as all that great, especially in comparison to my porn rituals, which gave me more pleasure and stimulation than anything else. With the addiction gone, little things make me really happy. I find myself laughing often, smiling for no reason, and just being in good spirits all around. As another rebooter put it, I thought I was a pessimist, but really, I was just an addict. Inability to orgasm during sex. Years of porn use can cause a variety of sexual symptoms, which when examined lie on a spectrum. Often porn users report that delayed ejaculation, DE, or inability to orgasm, anorgasmia, was a precursor to full-blown erectile dysfunction. Any of the following may precede or accompany delayed ejaculation and erectile dysfunction. Earlier genres of porn are no longer exciting. Uncharacteristic fetishes develop. Porn use is more sexually exciting than a partner. Sensitivity of penis decreases. Sexual arousal with sexual partners declines. Erections fade when attempting penetration or shortly thereafter. Penetrative sex is not stimulating. Porn fantasy is necessary to maintain erection or interest with partner. A 2015 study on sex clinic patients found that 71% of men who masturbated to porn more than 7 hours a week reported sexual functioning problems, with 33% reporting delayed ejaculation. In 3 of the 5 studies listed earlier, in which subjects removed porn use, anorgasmia healed. Not surprisingly, 7 other papers report links between porn use and lower sexual desire or difficulty climaxing. A few examples from the forums. I'm so happy right now. I'm a 25-year-old male, and until last night I had never orgasmed in the presence of a female. I've had sex but never ever been close to climaxing through any stimulation whatsoever. I started out like most of you, using internet porn from around the age of 15. If only I'd known what I was doing to myself. Age 29 here. 17 years of masturbation and 12 years of escalating to extreme and fetish porn. I started to lose interest in real sex. The buildup and release from porn became stronger than it was from sex. Porn offers unlimited variety. I could choose what I want to see in the moment. My delayed ejaculation during sex became so bad that sometimes I couldn't orgasm at all. This killed my last desire to have sex. I've lived with delayed ejaculation all my life, and I've never found anyone, including docs, who are familiar with the dysfunction or have any suggestions for improving it. I began using Viagra and Cialis to help me keep it up long enough to have an orgasm, often well over an hour of intense stimulation. I thought regular doses of porn were also necessary. Good news, by staying away from porn, I am now experiencing some of the most satisfying sex of my life with no ED meds, and I've got 2 decades on most of you. My erections are more frequent, firmer, and longer lasting, and our lovemaking is relaxing and lasts as long as both of us want it to. 4 months without porn. Yesterday was my birthday, and my girlfriend and I had sex. We've been sexually active for months, but I had never orgasmed once during sex until yesterday. It was the greatest feeling ever. It's a huge weight lifted off both my shoulders and my girlfriend's, as she was feeling rather self-conscious about the issue. I had some pretty bad delayed ejaculation problems with my previous girlfriend. I'm talking 2-3 hours of sex for me to be able to get off. So usually I ended up just stopping and going home and fapping. My success continues in week 10 of my reboot. An even better session with the missus tonight. Not only did I blow my load relatively quickly, defeating DE, I did it without having to go as vigorously as I usually would to finish. I went slow all the way, like never before, and it was brilliant. I could even say that I tried to back right off towards the end, as I didn't want to finish so soon. Not bad for someone with a bad case of DE for a number of years. Unreliable erections during sexual encounters. As mentioned, on most forums, ED is the #1 motivation for eliminating porn. Eminent urologist Harry Fish, MD, is also seeing porn-related sexual dysfunctions in his practice. In The New Naked, he writes, "I can tell how much porn a man watches as soon as he starts talking candidly about any sexual dysfunction he has. A man who masturbates frequently can soon develop erection problems when he's with his partner. Add porn to the mix, and he can become unable to have sex. A penis that has grown accustomed to a particular kind of sensation, leading to rapid ejaculation, will not work the same way when it's aroused differently." Between 1948 and 2002, historical rates of ED for men under 40 were consistently 2% to 3%, and did not begin to rise steeply until after age 40. However, since 2010, 6 studies have found ED rates of 14% to 33% in young men, a 1,000% increase in the last 15 years. More evidence of an unprecedented increase in sexual dysfunctions comes from a sexual function survey, the global study of sexual attitudes and behavior, administered to large numbers of men in several European countries. In 2001 to 2002, the survey was administered to 13,618 sexually active men in 29 countries. A decade later, in 2011, it was administered to 2,737 sexually active men in Croatia, Norway, and Portugal. The 2001 to 2002 group was aged 40 to 80. The 2011 group was 40 and under. Based on historical studies, older men would be expected to have far higher ED rates than younger men. However, in just a decade, things had changed radically. While the 2001 to 2002 rates for men 40 to 80 years old were about 13% in Europe, by 2011, ED rates in young Europeans aged 18 to 40 ranged from 14% to 28%. In short, multiple studies from the last decade using a variety of assessment instruments reveal evidence that difficulties during partnered sex are affecting as many as 1 in 3 young men. Adolescent males are suffering disproportionately. In 2016, a Canadian sexologist study showed that problems in sexual functioning are curiously higher in adolescent males than in adult males, even though the numbers for adults have also been rising. Over a 2-year period, 78.6% of males aged 16 to 21 reported a sexual problem during partnered sexual activity. Erectile dysfunction, 45%, low desire, 46%, and difficulty orgasming, 24%, were the most common. Incidentally, female sexual problems were high too. For example, nearly half of the females, 47.9%, reported pain during partnered sex. In 2014, a British team puzzled by the frequency with which young people reported engaging in heterosexual anal sex undertook a qualitative study on participants aged 16 to 18. Results? Quote, "Anal heterosex often appeared to be painful, risky, and coercive, particularly for women. High rates of limp penises and low sexual desire in teenage males should make everyone take notice as being extremely surprising. Imagine how unheard of these conditions would be in young bulls and stallions. The sexologists who gathered the data for the adolescent study were unclear why they found such high rates, and didn't even mention internet porn overuse as a possible influence. Yet in my view, no other variable has changed in the last 20 years that could possibly account for a tremendous rise in youthful ED and low libido. For example, unhealthy lifestyles such as poor diet leading to obesity, substance abuse, and smoking, factors historically correlated with organic ED, have not changed proportionately or have decreased in the last 20 years. Obesity rates in US men aged 20 to 40 increased only 4% between 1999 and 2008. Rates of illicit drug use among US citizens aged 12 or older have been relatively stable over the last 15 years, and smoking rates for US adults declined from 25% in 1993 to 19% in 2011. Some suggest anxiety or depression could account for the sharp rise, yet these are not clear causes of ED. For example, one study found that anxiety increased sexual interest in 21% of subjects, while decreasing it in 28%. As for depression and ED, studies suggest that ED leads to depression rather than the reverse. Even if more young men are anxious and depressed in 2017, could a small increase over the 2001 figures explain a rapid multifold increase in youthful sexual difficulties, such as low sexual desire, difficulty orgasming, and ED? Perhaps the Canadian sexologists had no idea that at least 23 studies link porn use or porn addiction to sexual problems and lower brain activation to vanilla porn. I have seen two diverging patterns of recovery among those who describe their experiences in online self-reports. A few men bounce back in a relatively short time, about 2 to 3 weeks. Perhaps their difficulties are due to mild conditioning, excessive levels of masturbation fueled by internet porn, or a minor case of desensitization, an addiction-related change we'll discuss in the next chapter. The vast majority of guys need 2 to 6 months or longer to fully recover. Most long rebooters experience a variety of withdrawal symptoms, including the dreaded flatline. Typically, they are younger guys who started early on internet porn. I suspect that this unfortunate trend is the natural outcome of highly malleable adolescent brains colliding with internet porn. Here are some testimonies from recovering users. When I lost my virginity, it really did not feel that good. I was bored, actually. I lost the erection after maybe 10 minutes. She wanted more sex, but I was done. The next time I tried to have sex with a woman was a disaster. I had an erection at first, but I lost it before I ever penetrated. Condom use was out of the question, not a hard enough erection. My lowest point was when I couldn't get it up for my girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend. Not once, but repeatedly over the course of our 3-year relationship. We also never orgasmed from vaginal intercourse. I was visiting doctors, buying books on penis exercises, trying to change habits by masturbating to point-of-view porn instead of the extreme porn I was addicted to. She was totally supportive of me the entire time. I mean, this girl really loved me with all her heart. She even bought nice lingerie and made efforts to be the slut in the bedroom. But even with that, I wasn't turned on because the porn I was into was much more extreme than that. Rape, forced sex, etc. I never had a problem getting hard for porn, but when it came to the real thing, I started taking Cialis. Over time, I took more, and even then there were times when it would only partly work. What the hell? Yet I could still get hard to porn. In contrast, most older guys began their solo sex careers with a catalog, a magazine, a videotape, grainy TV porn, or, amazingly, to today's young guys, their imagination. They also generally had some sex, or at least courtship, with a real partner before they fell under the spell of high-speed porn. Their real sex brain pathways may temporarily be overwhelmed by hyperstimulating internet porn, but those pathways are still operational once the distraction of porn is removed. Here are some words from older rebooters. Married, 52. I have many decades of porn under my belt, so to speak. I have not looked at any porn or masturbated for nearly 4 weeks, and all I can say is the change is dramatic. This morning, I woke up with one of the most intense erections I have ever had. My wife noticed, and was nice enough to give me a wonderful BJ, all before 7 a.m. Prior to this, I cannot remember ever waking up like this except when I was a teen. Plus, the feeling was very intense, much better than any porn release I remember. Married, age 50. I never thought I had ED. I managed to have sex with my wife. Boy, was I wrong. Since my recovery, my erections are way bigger, fuller, and longer, and the head is flared. My wife comments each time. I also remain erect even after orgasm, and think I could keep it up for a long time. My morning wood is also bigger and fuller. I really had ED and was too caught in my addiction to realize it. Keep in mind, I am 50. The reward for 4 months of no porn has been an improved sex life with my wife. And after nearly 15 years of being together, that is a considerable reward. Hurrah for plain vanilla sex. I seem to feel more than I used to. Here's a guy in the middle, who started out on internet porn, but not high speed. I masturbated a lot from 13 and used porn from 14. Gradually it took more to turn me on. Bigger fantasies or harder porn, and I stopped getting hard without touching. During sex I would struggle to get an erection or keep it, especially for intercourse. Over the past 7 years I haven't held down a relationship, and the main reason for me has been this problem. Now the good news. When I realized the cause, I immediately gave up porn. Over the last 6 weeks, I held off masturbating as much as I possibly could. My best record was 9 days. It all paid off. I just went away with a girl for the weekend and it was the best ever. I still get pretty anxious from all the bad experiences over the years, but I just wanted to tell you all that it can work, and it's well worth it. What about women? Porn use also seems to affect the sexual responsiveness of some women, as one describes. For us girls, a moderate porn-related ED is tough to spot, but I feel it the same way as guys describe it. There is desire, but no arousal. No throbbing, pulling, overwhelming, pleasurable sensation in the clitoris and the lower abdomen. Only a kind of mental push towards climax. And I too have PE, premature ejaculation. Except it might more accurately be described as PO, premature orgasm. Orgasming while excitation is low, with the quality of the orgasm quite mediocre and unannounced except for a kind of anxiety-like tension localized in the genitals. Unaccustomed premature ejaculation. Although rare when compared to ED or delayed ejaculation, heavy porn users do sometimes report recovery from this symptom after eliminating porn use. Premature ejaculation from porn use may seem counterintuitive. 2 possible explanations come to mind. Perhaps a guy has trained his nervous system to ejaculate very quickly, or while partially erect. As this man described, masturbation and porn can cause PE, especially when you start doing it young. You want to reach climax and orgasm quickly because of the fear of being caught, so you teach your mind that when you're hard, your job is to come quickly and not enjoy the interim sensation. For others, porn may become a powerful trigger due to a strong association between porn and ejaculation. This automatic high arousal response is similar to Pavlov's dog salivating at the sound of a bell. I am no longer experiencing the extreme PE that I had for many years prior to reboot. It really is a miracle, because I had always just assumed it was some genetic defect. I did not connect the dots as possibly being porn-induced. Prior to my reboot, my erect penis was very sensitive, hypersensitive, making ejaculation embarrassingly quick. My penis would get rock hard and stand at attention at 12 o'clock, the skin stretched tight like a snare drum. My penis was a fueled rocket sitting on the launch pad. Countdown starts at 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Orgasm. The words, "sorry dear," became my motto. But today, 52 days into reboot, my penis is no longer on the rocket launch pad. It stands at 10 o'clock. I have a softer but bigger erection. Don't get me wrong, it is still very hard and capable of vaginal penetration, just more plastic, less rigid, less sensitive, and not as explosive. Most important to my relationship with my wife, I'm able to last longer. The reboot is working very well on my porn-induced PE. When you watch porn, you become overstimulated and ejaculation is one stroke away. I've spoken to numerous men older than me and have asked them how they last long. Many said that they last long naturally and don't watch porn or masturbate. My cousin, who says he lasts 20 to 30 minutes, has said he lasts longer when he doesn't watch porn or masturbate. I was going out with my now ex-girlfriend for 2 years before we broke up. I never had any sexual problem, be it ED or PE. I wasn't addicted to porn, although I masturbated to it occasionally. After we broke up, I used porn regularly and started going to massage parlors with happy endings. After 6 months, I got back with the same girl, and I somewhat reduced the frequency of my other activities. The sex was awful with my girlfriend, or at least it was for her. I didn't have a problem with getting it up, except maybe a couple of times, but I couldn't last for over a minute. The relationship endured a year, during which I didn't, not even once, make her orgasm from penetration. The same girl I was giving multiple orgasms 6 months earlier. For others, PE may be related to a history of forcing orgasms with weak erections. I would force myself to ejaculate in the morning before school, and several times after. I wasn't even horny or hard, merely compelled by some urge to keep forcing myself to come. My mechanistic porn habits have taken away all sensuality from the act of orgasm, turning it into a short spurt and muscle memory twitch of a climax. If you have porn-induced PE, consider the new behaviors, feelings, and sensations that came with its onset. Before, orgasms were absolutely phenomenal. My fucking knees would literally shake. But now I come with a mechanical twitch and no sort of real gratitude toward the act. And that is including with women. It feels different and lame. Alarming porn fetish tastes. Once upon a time, men could trust their penises to tell them everything they needed to know about their sexual tastes or orientation. That was before readily available porn videos. Brains are plastic. The truth is we are always training our brains, with or without our conscious participation. It's clear from countless reports that it's not uncommon for porn users to move from genre to genre, often arriving at places they find personally disturbing and confusing. What might be behind this phenomenon? One possibility is boredom or habituation meeting the developing adolescent brain. Teens are thrill-seeking and easily bored. They love novelty. The stranger, the better. Many a young man has described masturbating with one hand while clicking through videos with the other hand. Lesbian porn grows boring, so he tries out transgender porn. Novelty and anxiety ensue, and both increase sexual arousal. Before he knows it, he has climaxed, and a new association begins imprinting his sexual circuits. Never before have developing adolescents been able to switch from genre to genre while masturbating. This casual practice may turn out to be a prime danger of today's porn. I wasn't interested in any weird stuff before I started to watch internet porn, just real girls of my age. Now I like BBB, BBW, MILF, tranny, crossdresser, fat, skinny, teen. Once I saw a few seconds of a bisexual video, 1 woman, 2 guys, and I started to feel that taboo feeling, but I didn't give it a chance, did not masturbate to it, and changed the video. So I don't watch bisexual videos and have no cravings for them. That's because I didn't give them a chance, but I gave a chance to every other kind of porn I got into. If I had given granny porn a chance, I would like it now too. The tendency to escalate to more extreme porn is not confined to teens. In a pre-internet study, subjects were exposed either to common, non-violent porn or to innocuous videos for 1 hour in each of 6 consecutive weeks. 2 weeks later, they were provided with an opportunity to watch videotapes in privacy, with a choice of G-rated, R-rated, and X-rated videos. The subjects who had watched pornography showed little interest in viewing non-violent porn, electing instead to view bondage, sadomasochism, and bestiality. This consumption preference was much more pronounced in males, though present to some extent in females. In an early review of relevant research, one of the study's authors commented that consumers of pornography are not likely to limit themselves to common porn when given the opportunity to consume material featuring less common sexual practices, including sadomasochistic and violent sexual behaviors. He also noted that after frequent exposure to pornography, erections were less pronounced and more poorly maintained. Viewing more extreme porn was thus appealing because it was still capable of producing sexual excitedness. However, the introduction of novel porn failed to return interest to initial levels. Pleasure reactions were flat, or indicated disappointment, and this lack of responsiveness lingered for weeks, but did gradually improve. In short, more than 25 years ago, there was already evidence that porn video viewers tended toward habituation, declining sexual responsiveness, a need for more extreme visual stimuli, and dissatisfaction. But the evidence was largely ignored by sexual health professionals. When today's researchers finally thought to ask about this phenomenon in connection with high-speed porn use and limitless novelty, it turned out that half of their porn-using male subjects reported escalating to online material that was not previously interesting to them or that they considered disgusting. The researchers also found evidence of reduced erectile function and reduced overall sexual satisfaction. A related reason porn tastes can escalate is tolerance, which is a more lasting addiction process that drives a need for greater stimulation. I'll discuss it in the next chapter. As we'll see, sexual novelty is a surefire way to bring your flagging member back to attention. If a new porn star won't do it, try gang rape or gore. No, you wouldn't rape or dismember anyone, but you may now need extreme material and underlying anxiety to get you going. As you may recall from the introduction, psychiatrist Norman Doidge also observed this process in his patients. This phenomenon is so common, and evidence of recovery so reassuring, that I'll share a range of self-reports. As my porn use progressed throughout college, I slowly fell prey to more and more hardcore shit, like really weird shit, that is now no longer turning me on when I think about it. This is one of the greatest feelings of all, to know that my fantasies are returning to those of a normal, earth-born and bred human being. I'm tired of hearing, "you like what you like," from people. A lot of the things I look at, I don't like. I just can't get off to the normal stuff anymore. I never thought I'd wank to girls pissing on each other, and now it doesn't do it for me anymore. Sexuality is tricky, and I think we've only begun to look at the effects that internet porn has on human beings. All of us are test subjects, and from what I've read over and over, people are noticing changes. I can say, with absolute certainty, that the fantasies I had about rape, homicide, and submission were never there before hardcore porn use from age 18 to 22. When I stayed away from porn for 5 months, all those fantasies and urges were gone. My natural sexual taste was vanilla again, and still is. Thing with porn is, you need harder and harder material, more taboo, more exciting and wrong to actually be able to get off. I never thought that I'd be able to have normal sex. I always thought that my brain was just hardwired to only be turned on by my femdom fetish. Female domination porn that humiliates men. Similar to the way a gay guy can only be turned on by cock and cannot appreciate sex with a woman. Little did I know that the fetish I thought was hardwired was simply the result of my porn viewing habits. It was a hell of my own making. After 3 months of no porn, my latest sexual encounter has removed any doubt about the effectiveness of quitting. I'm a 23-year-old male in good physical condition. I started high-speed porn at 15, quickly escalating from normal porn to bukkake porn, repeated ejaculation on a female by many men, transgender porn, femdom porn, incest, etc. I didn't realize how much I was hurting myself until I lost my virginity at 20 and had problems achieving and maintaining an erection. It seriously hurt my self-confidence and made me fearful of sex. Similar results with other women. I kept increasing the frequency and length of porn sessions and escalating to more disturbing fetishes. After a year, I tried to have sex with an attractive girl. I couldn't perform. I spiraled down a hole of despair. I started watching sissy hypno porn and occasionally anal masturbation. I thought I might have turned gay, but gay porn never did it for me. I found NoFap and quit. After a few relapses, I made my 90-day mark. I have lost my cravings for all porn, especially extreme porn. At 87 days, I had my first date in ages. At 96 days, my first BJ, fellatio, since quitting. No problems at all, which is amazing because I used to get bored during BJs and lose my erection. And at 113 days, I had sex and performed better than ever, with a rock-hard erection the whole time. I feel like I've been given a second chance at life. As any porn junkie knows, the more porn you watch, the more you need, and the more hardcore porn you need to feel fully aroused. At my worst, I was dabbling in bestiality, frequent incest scenes, or other hardcore porn. Actual vaginal sex was never too arousing for me. Oral or other types of non-vaginal sex were way more appealing. They made the woman just a pleasure-giving object. After months of mental detox, if you will, and multiple real-life partners, I've lost my fixation to alternative types of sex. I'm actually attracted to vaginas now. Sounds funny, doesn't it? I still enjoy other types of sex on occasion, but the intimacy of being inside of a woman is second to none. Seriously, it's way more sexy now. This is obviously a win-win in real life, and my urge to watch porn went from a constant roar to an occasional whimper. This is not an exaggeration. Men have long believed that what arouses them to orgasm is ironclad evidence of their sexual orientation. Therefore, it can be especially distressing to escalate through shifting porn fetishes that ultimately cast doubt on sexual orientation. Yet such escalation to unexpected tastes is surprisingly common today, especially among young people who grew up dabbling in anything-goes tube sites from an early age. When I got internet back in my late teens, I found many YouTube-like porn sites that categorize content by fetishes. At first, my tastes were those of a normal teenage boy, but over the years my taste shifted into aggressive content. Violent themes against women, to be more specific, especially those anime and hentai videos with scenarios too vile to portray in real life. Eventually I got bored of that stuff, and in my 20s found new stuff. Within a year, I had acquired many new fetishes, each changing within a shorter time frame than the one before it. I'm experimenting with quitting because my tastes are now making me really uncomfortable. They conflict with my sexuality. Worse yet, there's a widespread idea online that internet porn is enabling users to discover their sexuality. Some bold young explorers industriously seek out the hottest material they can find in the belief that it reveals who they are sexually. They don't realize that a boner isn't the only measure of a person's fundamental sexual proclivities. For example, the addiction process itself can drive escalation to more extreme material, while making porn that used to seem hot appear confusingly unexciting. Also, anxiety-producing material pumps up sexual arousal. As one researcher explained, a quickening pulse, dilating pupils, and clammy skin, the body's reaction to adrenaline, can be mistaken for sexual attraction. We misinterpret our arousal. It is an error of presumption. Sexual interests are conditionable and changeable. In fact, multiple studies have successfully conditioned subjects to cues for erotic images in order to compare porn users' brain responses with controls. Incidentally, sexual interests are different from fundamental sexual orientation. By following their erections from genre to genre, some young users migrate to content that they feel is at odds with their sexual identity. I'm gay, but porn can get me sexually interested in females. Well, not breasts, but the other female parts become arousing. Porn is an overly charged erotic atmosphere. All inhibitions are down and the desire for arousal becomes dominant. As the years slipped by, Gonzo simply wouldn't do it anymore. Recently I actually looked at gay porn because I was bored. It was like, here I am, 28, and I've seen all the porn on the internet essentially, so I might as well look at gay porn. That moment the seed was planted. This is seriously fucked. You need to stop this. Of course, I didn't then. Reddit and the Empty Closets forum are full of people, gay, bi, and straight, who are completely lost and confused about their orientation and freaking out about why they want to suck cocks or watch weird stuff after use of porn. The high-speed generation's porn users are going online and asking for answers. On French forums it's the same. Thousands of people posting, and so many don't know why they developed penis fetishes or femdom addiction. The common factor is internet use, porn, chat, and dating sites. A 2016 study reports that it's now common for men to view porn inconsistent with their stated sexual identity. Heterosexual identified men report viewing porn containing male same-sex behavior, 20.7%. And gay-identified men report viewing heterosexual behavior in porn, 55%. Sadly, ignorance of how common it is to escalate, paired with ignorance of how often quitting versus porn taste, can leave a porn consumer very anxious. When users become obsessed with sexual orientation doubts, they refer to it as SOCD or HOCD, that is, sexual orientation or homosexual obsessive-compulsive disorder. Age 19. I seriously thought I was turning gay. My HOCD was so strong at that time, I was contemplating taking a dive off the nearest high-rise. I felt so depressed. I knew I loved girls, and I can't love another dude, but why did I have ED? Why did I need transgender or gay stuff to shock me into arousal? Let me emphasize that this is not only heterosexuals who become anxious about their sexual orientation due to escalation to new porn genres. I myself had HOCD in the sense that I feared myself to actually be heterosexual, since I eventually was exclusively turned on by straight and lesbian porn. Yes, feared, because my entire social identity was as a gay man, and I am married to a man. If I went back to straight, a move that nobody would ever believe and is more taboo nowadays than coming out as gay, I would be a social outcast. Finally, I realized that I had eroticized the fear itself. Any form of OCD is potentially a serious medical disorder. Whether you are gay, straight, or undecided, if you have these symptoms, seek help from a healthcare professional who thoroughly understands that OCD is a compulsion to check constantly to reassure yourself, and who won't jump to the conclusion that you are in denial about your sexuality. As one rebooter remembers, I went to a psychiatrist. He confirmed I have OCD and he prescribed Xanax. Now, my symptoms of HOCD are very, very mild. I can think way clearer. It improved my appetite and I've had some of the best sleep of my life. Also, now I know I am not gay or bi, and my withdrawal from porn has become a lot easier because my anxiety has dropped. So if someone asks you, how serious is porn addiction? Say that you know a guy who had to get on Xanax in order to make it through the withdrawal. Loss of attraction to real partners. Young Japanese men are growing indifferent or even averse to sex, while married couples are starting to have it even less, reported the Japan Times, citing a 2010 poll that revealed a striking trend. More than 36% of men aged 16 to 19 had no interest in sex, more than double the 17.5% from 2008. Men between 20 and 24 showed a similar trend, jumping from 11.8% to 21.5%, while men between 45 and 49 leapt from 8.7% to 22.1%. Japan isn't alone. In France, a 2008 survey found that 20% of 18 to 24-year-old French men had no interest in sex. Is today's porn a factor? A 2015 Italian study reported that 16% of high school males who use porn more than once per week report abnormally low libido, while 0% of those who do not use it report low libido. Something peculiar is afoot, and it has invaded the States as well. The percentage of U.S. high school students who are currently sexually active has decreased from 38% in 1991 to 30% in 2015. Researchers suggested easy access to pornography and more time spent interacting on a computer screen as potential causes. In a 2016 study, young men who viewed a lot of porn were more likely to rely on it to become and remain aroused, and more likely to use it during partnered sexual activities. In addition, they enjoyed sex less than men who used less porn. In 2017, researchers reported that higher levels of porn use correlate with preferring porn over people for sexual excitement. It is not unusual for people on porn recovery forums to ask the question, "Do you think I'm asexual?" When asked if they masturbate, the answer is usually yes, 2 to 3 times a day to porn. Are they asexual or just affected by their porn use? Its never-ending stimulation can provide a buzz long after real-life partners begin to pale, as demonstrated by the following testimonies. I'm not asexual strictly speaking, as I still find women beautiful, but I'm no longer attracted to them, either sexually or romantically, though I consciously know they are attractive. Do you guys get that painful feeling when you look at a hot girl? You would like to be turned on, but you just can't. It makes me angry. Age 18. Before starting porn at 15, I was extremely horny and would chase anything on 2 legs. I made out with girls and got insane boners. After porn ruined me, I was completely disinterested in girls and could never maintain an erection. At my young age, I knew there was something definitely wrong with me because I'm supposed to be women crazy like I used to be before porn. At 17, I began my reboot. Yesterday, I successfully had sex with no ED drugs and my boner was amazing. There's a new orb of light surrounding women. They're just beautiful and cute and playful. And yeah, I love to look at them and admire their beauty and sexiness because we're guys. That's what we do. But it's so much more than that. It's almost indescribable how stopping using porn has made me value women and the time I spend with them in so much more of a wholesome way. After years of fapping 5 to 12 times per week to pornography, sex was embarrassing. Not only was there not enough friction, but it felt like the wrong type of stimulation. 6 months later, I have no performance issues of any kind. Sex is now 20 times more fulfilling than masturbation. It takes foreplay for me to reach my peak arousal now, and my partners absolutely love that. I laugh at myself when I fap on occasion and am left a bit disappointed. Age 19. For years, I thought I used porn because I was horny. I thought that if I could get a girl to have sex with me, I wouldn't have to fap. But I recently passed up having sex with a woman I work with twice. And then I fucking went home and fapped while fantasizing about having sex with her. The most messed up thing about this is that I didn't realize how fucked up this was until yesterday. I mean, if I had actually been fapping because I wanted to have sex, I would have just gone through with it, right? I was in denial. Day 46. For the last 3 days, I have felt that strong, natural sexual attraction to real women while out and about. I just naturally notice a woman's figure, and it turns me on without having to think about it. Duh, that's how it's supposed to work. Damn, it's amazing how porn screws you up. My penile sensitivity has been off the charts, too. I honestly don't remember ever feeling like this. I'm known as the unrealistic high standards on chicks guy among my friends, yet I hardly score. After 40 days, I'm approaching more girls than ever, not only for their looks, but the way they are and what they talk about. Before, girls weren't special, they were just okay. My brain wanted unrealistic whores, and it's just now that I've realized how many years I wasted chasing fantasy relations instead of being happy with what life was giving me, which, in hindsight, were some of the nicest girls I've met. In the past, I noticed beauty, of course, but never felt a desire to be with a girl. I've directed all my sex drive toward porn. Everything sexual for me was porn. I could never think about me, this guy with this cock, having real sex with a real girl. Now, I feel like sex is the most natural thing to do. Hell yeah, it's possible for me to have sex. Hell yeah, there's a lot of girls out there wanting to have it with me. Suddenly, self-defeating thoughts seem so stupid and time-wasting. I finally feel what most males feel, and it's awesome. Effects on romance. Relationships, too, are affected by porn use, which makes sense. Too much stimulation can interfere with what scientists call pair bonding, or falling in love. When scientists jacked up pair bonding animals on amphetamine, the naturally monogamous animals no longer formed a preference for one partner. Artificially, abnormally intense stimulation hijacks their bonding machinery, leaving them just like regular, promiscuous mammals, in which the brain circuits for lasting bonds are muted. Research in humans also suggests that too much stimulation weakens pair bonds. According to a 2007 study, mere exposure to numerous sexy female images causes a man to devalue his real-life partner. He rates her lower not only on attractiveness, but also on warmth and intelligence. Also, after porn consumption, subjects of both sexes reported less satisfaction with their intimate partner, including the partner's affection, appearance, sexual curiosity, and performance. And both men and women assigned increased importance to sex without emotional involvement. There are now over 70 studies, most fairly recent, linking internet porn use, or problematic porn use, to sexual problems, lower arousal to sexual stimuli, and reduced sexual and relationship satisfaction. In fact, in men, higher porn consumption is consistently associated with reduced enjoyment of sexual intimacy with a partner, as the following men can attest. Day 125. I am in a long-term relationship, and I can vouch for the fact that quitting helped our sex life. A lot. I had no ED or PE or any other kind of sex-related problems, but compared to what we have now, our sex life while I was fapping was dull. Now it is anything but dull, and both of us have stronger libidos than before. I am not exactly sure how or if my quitting affected her libido, but she sure is much more interested in sex now. Age 50. Over the years, I suggested to my wife various activities straight out of porn stories. She was okay with some of them, but it never satisfied at all. Although we had decent sex life relative to most people our age, I was always comparing the porn scenarios with my real life and real wife, and feeling dissatisfied. Now, things are shifting. During intercourse last night, I felt suddenly very intimate, almost scarily intimate. Deep contact I have never experienced before. It felt kind of shocking to me. It was wonderful in a way I can't describe, but I am in a kind of awe over it. Age 19. Even though I watch porn, I was never really one to want sex. 2 guys managed to grab my interest. However, I think porn and masturbation was suppressing my longing to be with either of them. Since quitting, I suddenly had this intense realization that I really liked those 2, and I could see myself completely happy in a committed relationship with either. Suddenly it felt like my heart was reaching out for them. Instead of daydreaming, my body was like, let's go make this happen in real life. All of a sudden I felt this huge wave of some weird attraction type energy surge over me. Age 30. In the past, sex wasn't emotional. On some level it was like nobody else was there, because I was in my own head the whole time for one reason or another, fantasizing, DE issues, etc. Girlfriends during my mid-20s to early 30s just didn't arouse me anywhere close to what high-speed porn offered, no matter how good they looked. I didn't recognize these things at the time, of course, but since beginning this journey 4 months ago, I can honestly say I'm shocked how good sex can be with your girlfriend when you eliminate the constant, steady pattern of porn use. 200 days. I now have an undeniable sex drive. I want my wife more than ever. If a long time passes without sex, I feel this thing called sexual tension, which is apparently real. And let me tell you, when you get to this point, you really won't care about whatever super specific porno fetishes you thought were the only thing you could get off to, because just the word woman, or man, or whoever, will make you feel urges. My sexual desire has never been higher, and I'm more observant towards women who could become good girlfriends and eventually good mothers. It's not entirely about their beauty anymore. Before realizing that porn was the problem, I used to think I needed to get healthier fantasies. Now, almost 8 months after quitting porn, I'm finding that the fantasies I used to have don't appeal to me anymore. At all. My wife and I both enjoy sex much, much more when there is no fantasy involved. I'm now able to make love to her without erectile issues, face to face with eye contact. Social anxiety and self-esteem. As users manage to abstain from porn, their desire to connect with others generally surges. Often, so does their self-esteem, their ability to look others in the eye, their sense of humor, their optimism, their attractiveness to potential mates, and so forth. Even those formerly suffering from severe social anxiety often explore new avenues for social contact, smiling and joking with work colleagues, online dating, meditation groups, joining clubs, night spots, and so forth. In some cases it takes months, but for others the shift is so rapid that it catches them by surprise. Weibop wasn't alone in chronicling this unexpected connection. In his famous TED Talk, The Demise of Guys, well-known psychologist Philip Zimbardo noted that arousal addiction, porn and video games, is a major factor in the increase in social awkwardness and anxiety among digital natives. Zimbardo's hypothesis is that excessive screen time can interfere with development of normal social skills. Already, 10 studies link porn use to anxiety, with an 11th linking it to shyness. However, this doesn't explain the increase in confidence and extroversion after quitting, or why some guys improve so quickly. In The Brain That Changes Itself, psychiatrist Norman Doidge suggests that the intense stimulation of today's porn hijacks and rewires brain real estate that would otherwise be devoted to making social ties rewarding. Real people become less rewarding. Fake people become far more enticing. Perhaps removing porn reopens the space for natural rewards such as friends and partners. I explore this further in the next chapter. Before porn, I had a lot of friends, a couple of girlfriends, and I felt like I was on top of the world. There was nothing that could bring me down. I felt like I had my own way to react to everything that could happen. Then I got a new computer. After a year or two, I found myself in really deep social anxiety, combined with too much pot and nothing interesting to do with my life. I'm not your generic, self-diagnosed, socially awkward penguin. I've been to a psychiatrist, diagnosed with moderate to severe social anxiety, and was put on medication. I know about the adrenaline rush you get when a stranger gets near you. The almost heart attack you feel when you try to talk during a class or a meeting, as if you ever do. The long, lonely walks you take to not deal with strangers. The unfounded shame when you look another person in the eye. The huge wall you put between strangers. Sweating, trembling, panic attacks, self-hate, suicidal impulses. I've been through it all. I've been attempting quitting for 2 years now, and this is the longest I've abstained. I no longer experience the torture I described above. No, I'm not a new person, not a social butterfly. I'm still myself, but I'm free of the shackles we call social phobia. In this past 2 years, I've made more connections, hit on more women, made more friends than I did in my first 25 years. I feel content and comfortable in my own skin, and the wall I put between myself and other people has crumbled. Social interaction. I was completely afraid of it and incapable of it 50 days ago. In the past week or so, I've interacted incredibly smoothly and effortlessly with people with whom I would have been unable to interact with while using. I used to be unable to look people in the eyes. I used to purposefully hide from people I knew in public so as to avoid awkward conversation. I wasn't able to be invested in a conversation. Women, even those I knew personally, would intimidate me. I would fantasize throughout the day about being able to interact just like a normal human being. All of this is now changing before my eyes in a most drastic way. I can interact with confidence, be myself. I can hold an unbreakable gaze into other people's eyes. I am actually part of the conversation, as opposed to being aloof and thinking about leaving it. New people I meet tell me they like my confidence, and they think I'm a good speaker. Compliments I would have never expected to hear just a few months ago. My interactions with females are completely transformed. It seems like there is some unconscious recognition that you just have more power or something. It's hard to explain. Females are complimenting me on my looks and body. I can read people's body language better. People cannot intimidate me as before. Their anger just bounces off me, and I stay in a serene state. Inability to concentrate. Those who reboot commonly report that they have better concentration, no more brain fog, clearer thinking, and improved memory. Not surprisingly, researchers report that porn, or erotica viewing, is associated with concentration problems, working memory interference, poorer executive function, and reduced academic performance. Several research groups have now linked porn use with impulsiveness, or the inability to delay gratification. This has ominous implications for meeting life goals while using porn. Such results align with the finding that moderate porn use, even by non-addicts, correlates with shrunken gray matter in regions of the brain associated with cognitive function. When I was using internet porn, I had brain fog or a constant hungover-like feeling, which made it hard for me to concentrate, talk to people, or just do my everyday tasks. After 7 to 10 days without porn, this feeling went away. My mind became very clear, thoughts easily controllable, and I became much more relaxed in general. I am 34 and went on Adderall for the first time a few months ago. 2 months after quitting porn, I really don't need it anymore. Some of the benefits I have experienced. I can retain and remember information a lot better. I remember events in my past a lot better. I am not irritable, and I am more focused. I can execute tasks a lot faster. My writing is much better. I don't mean handwriting, although that got better too. I mean word choice, sentence structure, etc. During my first year of graduate school, which I just finished, writing was a real chore. Now, after no porn, it's a pleasure. So easy and free. I have more words at my disposal, probably because my memory has improved in general. Memory. I always had a good one, but quitting put it through the roof. I could enter a room of 15 people and learn and recall specifically all their phone numbers in under 5 minutes. Marks, perfect. Social anxiety and BS negative thinking, out with the trash. For those of you who are in uni, NoFap is a miracle for the brain. Before, I used to have to force myself to concentrate in class and would still end up zoning out. Now, I can concentrate in a 3-hour lecture with almost no issues. Depression and other distress. Scientists now view depression as a condition of low energy and little motivation. Recent research confirmed that the go-get-it neurochemical dopamine is the main player. In fact, impaired and restored dopamine signaling may be behind many of the symptoms and improvements reported by recovering users. Again, more in the next chapter. I'm finding I experience depression and feelings of worthlessness far less often. I'm able to get up more easily in the morning and find the motivation to do the bloody dishes more often before going to bed. I'm happier. Much, much happier. I typically suffer from SAD, seasonal affective disorder, and was diagnosed with minor clinical depression a few years back. But this autumn and winter, I'm feeling great. I have more energy. As a man with genetic depression, being porn-free has done more for me than any drugs I have ever had to take. It's as if this makes me more alert, attentive, and happier than Wellbutrin, Zoloft, or the other drugs I was cycled through. My lifelong, or so I thought, anxiety, depression, and mental issues have seemingly dissipated and retreated from the roaring lion within. I have been on Lexapro for the past 2 years and was able to taper off completely. Over this 90 days, I landed my highest paying and most rewarding job thus far, connected much better with friends and family, and have had a surplus of energy and vigor that I never realized was possible. More money is in my bank account because of my newfound self-control. I notice more respect from others because it seems as if they intuitively know that I respect myself. Quitting isn't a cure for all your life problems, but it's the foundation, a plowed field in which you can sow seeds for a new future that isn't bedeviled by the secrecy and shame that comes with falling into the seemingly inescapable pit of porn-related despair that so many of us know. A life of hope and strength, not jizzy tissues, jealousy, bitterness, self-hatred, resentment, and unfulfilled dreams. Almost a dozen studies now correlate porn use, or problematic porn use, with depression. In those studies, or others, associated links with porn use also included psychoticism, paranoid thinking, stress, psychosomatic symptoms, and narcissism. In light of this vast, informal experiment, it seems clear that the widely publicized view that pornography, specifically online pornography, is harmless should be reconsidered as a matter of urgency. We can't be sure that the thousands of people describing their recovery from excessive porn use are mistaken. Indeed, the research so far published overwhelmingly corroborates their experiences. As we'll see next, it is quite plausible that the symptoms they describe are real, that online pornography use causes them, and that behavioral change can bring significant benefits. In any case, porn users suffering from the kinds of symptoms outlined above have little to lose from cutting out internet porn for a few months to see if their symptoms resolve.